Hi, good day. Today, let's continue our learning of Golang from the point of view of a C# developer. And in particular, we are going to look at exception handling. On my right, I've got a simple C# program, which is going to take a couple of numbers, call a method called divide, and we'll do some exception handling. If in case the denominator is 0, we will return a custom divide by 0 exception, and then we finally clean up if there's any cleanup which we need to do. So then if I run it, let's go enter x, so that's a numerator 10, denominator is 2, and the value is 10 divided by 2 is 5, and that does a cleaning up. Then if I run it again, so 10 again, but let's say 0 for the denominator, and we cannot divide by 0, we are handling the exception and we are cleaning up as well. So let's do the same in Golang. So in Golang, let's first create a method to divide. To do that, func divide, which takes two numbers, x float 32 and y float 32, which returns a float 32 as well. And simply return x divided by y. And to use it, let's do the same thing we did in C#. We will say fmt dot print ln enter x and enter y, and we need a couple of variables, so let's say var x comma y float 32 and enter x. So to get the value from the console, it's scanf and then I think scan ln and ampersand x scan ln ampersand y. And to call the method, answer, let's call the answer colon equals to divide, and we're going to pass x comma y, and we will print out the answer fmt dot print ln, we are saying x divided by y equals to answer. Let's quickly run it. So let's say making sure the basic functionality works. 10 divided by 2 equals to 5. If we try the same thing with 10 and a 0, we are not handling the y being 0 at the moment, so it's going to return plus INF, which is Golang's way of saying it doesn't know how to calculate that number. It doesn't throw an exception. Let's cover that in a later video, but for now let's handle the y being 0 in Golang. So to do that, handling errors in Golang is generally done by returning multiple variables. So you will return the actual value back, and then you will also return an error. So comma error, and normally you would basically return nil and error. So let's check if y equals to 0, and okay, by the way, this needs to be in brackets, that's why we get a squiggly line there. And if y equal to 0, we basically say we need to return 0, comma, we need to return an error. So in C#, we basically define our exception like this by inheriting from exception. In Golang, we basically create a helper method to give us and the error variable. So let's create that. Where divide by 0 error, and we use the errors package to create a new error. So errors.new cannot divide by 0, and we can return that error here. And that's pretty much it. So we can't, okay, so the nil has to be on the second variable. The first one is the actual answer, and then the nil. And to call that, so now we got two things to expect back. So answer and error. And then we can actually handle the error. So if error is not equal to nil, we can say fmt.println, then error, like let's call this divide error. So divide error, divide error dot error, which is how we get the exception from the thing of error object, and that's pretty much it. Else we can display the response. So else and we can run this now. 10 2 works as usual. Run it again. 10 0, we get the cannot divide by 0, and it finishes. Okay, so that's one part of it. The one thing which we did in C#, which we haven't covered yet, is the cleanup functionality. Finally works in C#. It helps us run some cleanup code, close files, clean up resources, whether the function executed successfully or it failed, we can still do the cleanup successfully. And to do the same thing in Golang, we will create a concept called differ. So let's create a function called cleanup. This could be any method which returns nothing. We don't need to return anything, and we just basically for now just print a line. So println cleaning up, and we can call this method by prefixing the verb called differ. Differ is called by doing differ and then the method differ will be called if the moment the program is going to finish executing. So when this method finishes, that differ is called. If there are multiple differs, the last differ is called first, and then it goes up the chain. So at the moment we just need one differ, and let's run this and see how it looks. 10 2 and finishes, and then cleaning up happens, even though that's the first line in the function. Because we have added the differ keyword, that happens in the very end. And let's run this again. 10, and this time we'll have a 0. It's going to throw an exception, or we're going to handle the exception. Even then cleaning up happens irrespective of that. So that's one crucial difference in a way of Golang does things for handling cleaning up resources. And the second thing I want to discuss is here we are returning a particular exception back. What happens if you want to, there is no way for you to continue and you want to crash, you want the program to crash, or you want to throw a exception, you can't continue any further. So let's do that. Let's copy that method and let's call this method divide with panic. And here, instead of returning this error, let's panic. So there is a function called panic in Golang. What it does is it basically returns an unrecoverable error. In C#, you would call that like a critical exception, and you basically this is where you throw the yellow screen of death. And we can give a message, um, method name, and whatever message you need to return, right? So now if we call divide with panic, so we don't need to return the error. So this can just be a simple if, and we return null. And let's do this. So answer colon equals to divide with panic, and we send the same x and y, and let's print the response. And let's try this. So we're going to see two results back in the console. Let's just put the and this one is our normal response back. So let's run this again. So we will try valid values first. So it doesn't really make any difference if it doesn't have a exception being thrown. Let's try again with and 0 denominator. And so the first one we are handling it. We're getting the normal error response back. And the second one, we are throwing the panic. And then here you actually see the Golang stack where the exception is being thrown. So panic is a way of abruptly stopping the function from proceeding any further. So that's the second concept in Golang, which is not available, not the exact same functionality is not available in C#. There's another thing we can do in Golang, which is when a panic happens, we can potentially try to recover. So that is done using the recover keyword. So to do that, we will create another function, let's say recover from panic, func. It won't take any variables, and we will say fmt console, not fmt.println. I was going to type console.writeline. Println, we will say recovering from panic. So here you would put any kind of logic which will recover from panic and then try to proceed with the operation. So to do the same thing, you would do defer and recover from panic. So we need to do one more thing before we okay, in the recover from panic, we need to do something special. So we need to say uh, some variable, say p equal to colon equals to recover. So this is a special function in Golang which gives us details about the panic, and we can try to recover from that particular panic. And so we can basically say recover, and if uh, p is not equal to null, so which basically means there is some panic, and we can say, actually we will move the print statement here. Let's clean that up. So we created a function and we are calling a special Golang recover method, which will return as the panic if it's available, and we can try and recover from it within this function. And that's pretty much it. So to call that, we also need to say defer recover from panic. So let's try this now. So let's try the same thing. 10 and 2, normal scheme of things, everything works fine and is cleaning up fine. And let's do the 10 and 0. The first time we are recovering cannot divide by 0, so we're doing it through the error scenario. And second, we are not throwing, we are panicking, we are calling the panic. And that way, and we are also recovering from panic. Because we are panicking, then we have a function which recovers from panic. That gets called and that recovers from panic, and then we finally clean up as well. So these is the most simple goal and exception handling strategies which we can use. And thanks for, we can finish this video for now, and you will see the entire source code sample in my GitHub repo in the description below. Thanks for watching. Thank you. Please subscribe for more Golang and C# videos.